Hello everyone. Tonight I want to talk about when the mask starts to slip from the narcissist. When somebody has borderline personality disorder, there's really no mask. They're super happy to be with you in the beginning, and then stuff starts to change kind of rapidly. But when it's a narcissist, they're very good at staying very stable when it comes to their act, especially when they want to get you. And this usually happens in the beginning during the love bombing stage. But eventually that stage will wear off, because once they feel like they've gotten you, they can finally take a break from their acting, because all it is acting. So what are some signs that the mask is starting to slip? Because once that mask slips, you're going to see them for who they truly are inside. Okay, so one of the signs when their mask starts to slip is that this is if you don't live with them. If you live with them, it's obviously very different. But if you're just dating or whatever, as long as you're not living with them, this is where you start to see it a little bit differently. So the person starts to ignore your text messages. They don't respond like they used to right away or abundantly. You might get close-ended answers where they're almost giving you the cold shoulder, where it's just a yes or no or an emoji, when they used to write these elaborate things, giving you so much detail and being so animated, and that stuff is kind of gone. So also another thing is breadcrumbing. They'll answer you instead of right away. They'll make sure that they ignore you, whether it's for hours on end, days on end, or even weeks, where now you're not getting that contact anymore that you used to get from them, and you're addicted to that. And this is where the trauma bond really is, especially with the simple stuff. So now next thing you know, you're not getting the text messages, you're not getting emails, you're not getting the phone calls as you used to, and the mask is starting to slip. And this is what they call breadcrumbing, because they give you little crumbs here and there to keep you there, because their new source might not be sufficient. So in case it doesn't work out, they have you to go back to. Because remember, it's not about them missing you, it's about who's a better source of supply. So what other things starts to happen when the mask starts to slip? They become very on edge and anxious when you talk to them. They misinterpret things very quickly, where it's almost like you're out to get them, or you're putting them down, or something of that nature, which you aren't. But remember, everything with them comes from a place of projection. So if you're the cheater, you think the other person's the cheater. So this is kind of a similar thing. So when you start to talk about certain things that you used to, and they take it the wrong way, and then you find yourself always explaining, trying to get yourself out of trouble, meanwhile, it doesn't make a difference. You're in trouble because their mask has slipped. Because now they're on edge, they misinterpret things, they're easily angered, very irritable. These are things that are definitely red flags and warning signs for you to get out of there if you can, especially if it's early in the relationship. They start to become very passive aggressive. Things that they used to love about you and admire and praise you for, now they're pretty much putting you down and beating you up and devaluing you. So before they could have said, "Oh, I love your beard. Oh my God, it's like that's and I used to that." And now it's just like, "Oh, you look like a homeless person." It's like, I hate when that thing touches my face. Or it's like, "Oh, you ever gonna get that thing trimmed? Think about getting a job someday." It could be anything, even though you already have a job. So it's like they start to all of a sudden put you down for who they supposedly fell for. So this starts to happen also. Next thing you know, you start to get blamed for a lot of things that you didn't do. It's just, remember, they have memory gaps. So if that memory is gone, they fill it in with whatever fulfills their needs at that moment in time. Because when they're happy, and something they don't remember is a beautiful thing. If they're not happy, it's a bad thing, and it's your fault. And that's how it always is. So they start to blame you for everything. You could do just a normal thing where you make dinner for them, and something that they used to supposedly enjoy. And now it's like, oh, you made this again? I'm so sick of this. It's like, oh, this is what's putting weight on you. It's making you fat, making this type of food. And it's just like everything starts to really switch up quickly. You know, they start picking on little things all the time. You could do no right. That's the easiest way. And you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So you start to walk in a field of landmines where it's like you're so worried about where you step and what you do, because you don't want to aggravate the person. You don't want conflict. You want that sweet, supposedly sweet person back, right? But that person that you fell in love with never existed. This is the real person underneath. That mask wasn't them. And this is the thing that people have a hard time with. The people that start to struggle with, you know, how do I get my honey back? How do I get my sweetie back? It's like, that person never existed. This was all a sham to will you in because you had something to offer them. Your light was something that they wanted. Whether it's personality traits, power, money, your intelligence, just something about you is what they wanted. And they would mimic that and mirror that. But then they got tired of it. And they feel like now there's nowhere for you to run. So you'll deal with it. And next thing you know, you start blaming yourself because you care and you want the situation to go back to what it was. This never happens. I mean, I've been through this for over a decade at one point. This is over 10 years ago already. But it doesn't change. It's like you just give more and more and more and lose more of yourself within this relationship. It's like almost being stuck in the middle of the ocean and having to tread water to survive. There's no boat coming to save you. There's no ship. There's no helicopter. There's no raft. Nobody's swimming by to pick you up. You're out there treading for the rest of your life. So as long as you're in this type of a relationship, it is a life sentence. It's very rare people get help. It's very rare they could be helped. And next thing you know, you're losing your sense of self trying to please somebody that you can't please. Remember, this type of relationship is a bottomless pit on their end. You can never satisfy them, and you never will. So when you do make them happy for that moment, that's what keeps the trauma bond. But don't worry, you'll be punished not too long after. So this is what the relationship is. It's a cycle. It's a non-stop cycle. Especially if you catch them cheating or doing something wrong. They might blame you, of course, because they're never going to take responsibility. But next thing you know, you're trying as much as you can to help salvage the relationship, which is pretty much impossible to do. So when you see these red flags in the beginning, especially the beginning of the relationship, where they start to ghost you, they start to come and go and disappear, they're not as attentive as they were, they start becoming sarcastic and nasty towards you, they start putting you down, everything you do starts to irritate them, everything you say they start to misinterpret. These are all signs, you know, and the thing is, the signs don't change, they don't get better. The thing that we do is we give them the benefit of the doubt and we start to project onto them the goodness that we have in ourselves, hoping that good person will come back. But that person never existed. The only difference is the mask fell off.